So guys, we are back. And today's topic is a fight I've been itching to see since the last one ended. That's right, it's Joyce versus Clubber Lang 2. I mean, Clubber Zhang. Or, well, you can't blame me for mixing the two up. Both of these guys have some of the meanest clubbing left hands you're gonna see in the heavyweight division. Now, I'm sure if you watched the last fight, you'd agree that Joyce didn't put in a Rocky type performance. I mean, the only eye of the tiger he had was a swollen one. And I mean, sure, he had the head movement of Rocky, notably none, that is, but that was about it. However, Balboa did come back and put Lang down in the rematch, which is what Joyce is going to be looking to do. And I think I know the changes Joyce is going to be making in this next fight to try and get that win back. Does Joyce have what it takes to come back and put down Big Bang Zhang? Or will Zhang prove that movies are just movies for a reason? I think I have that answer. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first, we gotta talk about what happened in that first fight. Joyce did what Joyce always does, which was come forward. I know he's slow, but if you watch his fights, notably the Parker match, he's constantly moving into his opponent's space. Most of the time, Joyce is able to walk through his opponent's punches as he moves towards them, causing them to throw while taking a back step. That takes away a lot of the power from their punches. This didn't work on Zhang though, because Zhang wasn't fearful of Joyce's power. Without stepping back, he was able to plant his feet and throw his power shots without being on the back foot, which means Joyce is no longer taking off any of the damage. Zhang was also extremely slick defensively, which isn't a surprise if you had watched his controversial defeat to Hrgovic. Joyce wasn't landing that thudding jab or right hand that he's used to getting off at will. Those were some of the big problems that Joyce couldn't seem to solve. To make matters worse, Zhang wasn't missing his shots. That left hand was landing clean on Joyce the entire fight, and it ended up with the TKO being called. So, what are the keys to this fight potentially going differently? Well, if you're Joyce, the answers are a little more obvious than you'd think. After the second round of their first fight, you'd see that Joyce would start having success when he started circling around Zhang, which is what you're meant to be doing when you're fighting a southpaw, so you avoid their power shots. The issue is it was clearly unusual for him. He didn't have experience fighting a southpaw, especially one as big as Zhang, and it showed. I'm also not sure he even sparred many southpaws in camp, with quotes from Joyce's camp and Joyce himself coming out in recent months that he didn't even seem to have a real game plan going into this fight. It makes it clear that he thought Zhang was going to be just another walkthrough fight. Another issue was the weight. Joyce came in lighter for seemingly no reason. It didn't help with his stamina, definitely didn't help his power, and he didn't utilize the lack of weight in any meaningful way. I'm not sure if it was just a poor camp or if that was a tactical decision, but it was a poor one. Take AJ for example. He cut weight for the second Usyk fight to be able to go the 12 rounds as he struggled to make it in the previous fights. Or Wilder in the third fight against Fury. He put on more weight so he could keep Fury down. Now, neither Wilder or AJ managed to beat their demons despite the weight changes, but their weight changes were made with a game plan and strategy in mind. Joyce's weight cut looks pointless when you look back at the fight. News has come out that he's coming in heavier for this fight though, so it does seem like he's understood that fact too. Something I did like from Joyce though was something that is common with all of his fights. His Terminator-like presence. The most interesting part of this fight was that he had his best round in the fifth, right when the swelling of his eye started to get very bad. Zhang had begun to slow down, which happens around the fifth or sixth round of all of Zhang's fights, and Joyce was able to land more efficiently. The issue was, even with Zhang's lack of shots, the ones he did throw were still more damaging. Naturally, this was because Joyce was down an eye, but still, Zhang was the one who made him lose that eye. However, despite all this, I think if Joyce takes his camp more seriously to get used to circling around the southpaws right, fight some more southpaws in camp, take it a bit more seriously, if he puts on some of the weight he cut to take Zhang's shots better, and if he can weather the first 6 rounds against Zhang, I think he's got a real chance of getting this win back. We have to remember, Joyce wasn't really cracked at any point in the fight. His eye was. His legs were always still there underneath him. It's just his skin couldn't match his chin. If Joyce can weather the storm and make it to round 7 or 8, where Zhang famously tires completely, I think you'll see a more textbook Joyce performance. I've been a little bit surprised with the discourse around this fight in the boxing space. I've seen a lot of people say that Joyce has no chance in this fight and that Zhang's just going to beat him down like he did last time. And of course, it's possible, but it's like people are forgetting that Joyce was being touted as the third or second most dangerous heavyweight in the scene before the Zhang fight. People were talking about putting him up against Fury or putting him up against Usyk, or he would demolish AJ and that he could take Wilder's punches. You know, people were really talking about Joyce like he was a super big dude, like he was that guy. And the discourse wasn't entirely incorrect. Joyce showed a lot of really good things in his previous fights. So I'm quite surprised that people are counting him out completely. Or, well, I wish I could say I was surprised that people are counting him out completely. If you look back to Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith, everyone was acting like Liam Smith was just going to destroy Eubank Jr. Despite their first fight, Eubank Jr. was destroying him those first 3 rounds before the lucky shot of the elbow that came in from Liam Smith that knocked Eubank Jr. off course completely. And then, of course, what did we see when they rematched? Eubank Jr. continued where he left off and he destroyed Liam Smith. He showed that there was different levels and that sometimes you just have a bad night or you just have a bad game plan. Now, Joyce very easily could have just had a bad night. He for sure had a bad game plan. In fact, it's hard to argue that the game plan wasn't just walk through Zhang's punches and then knock him out because he's an old man. Which, if I'm being real, I really do think that was what Joe Joyce's camp thought that fight was going to be. So it's a little bit of an eye-opener, and it's a good wake-up call to not underestimate anyone in this heavyweight division, especially someone with bricks in their hands. Now, this isn't to say that Zhang can't absolutely win the rematch. If Joyce doesn't know how to deal with that left, it's going to be an exact replica of the first. But Zhang isn't getting any younger, and with every fight, his gas tank is going to get a little bit worse. I wish he was able to get a Fury or Usyk fight before this rematch, but boxing isn't always fair. I mean, even if he does win the rematch, it's not like Fury's going to fight him, and Usyk has his mandatory, and then he's going to try to force the undisputed fight. So, I don't really know when Zhang is going to get that shot, if ever, which is really unfortunate, and it's just another one of the many problems with the current state of boxing. So, do I think Joyce can get that win back and really put on a performance that Rocky Balboa will be proud of? If he makes the changes I think he's going to make, I don't really see why not. Sometimes the favorite just has a bad night, and I think that's what happened last time. I think Joyce had a bad night. It was the poor man in the office. I think if he comes back, makes a few adjustments, and has a training montage with Apollo Creed here and there, I think he'll come out on top. But that's just my thought. That's just my thoughts on the fight. Let me know what you think, how you see it going. Tell me if you think I'm an idiot. I'm totally interested in hearing that too. Let me know your thoughts on the fight down below. And yeah, I've been the Neutral Corner. Thank you very much for watching.